of the word compassion is. Compassion, a deep awareness of the suffering of another, accompanied by a wish to relieve it. Compassion is why we are here today, because we all have a deep awareness of the suffering dolphins and whales go through when they are brutally stolen, ripped from their families and held in captivity purely to line pockets. We also have a strong desire to relieve that suffering for them, and we want to help to turn things around. But not everyone is blessed with the knowledge that we have, and this is what we have to bear in mind. It was January 2014 when a lovely friend of mine, Sharon, gently whispered in my ear. She had witnessed my published Facebook photo of a dolphin with an accompanying status declaring my undying love to these beautiful creatures, and how swimming with them was at the top of my bucket list. I had no idea about Taiji, and I had no idea about the secret behind captivity. From that day forward, my love for these wonderful sentient beings grew even stronger. And as she suggested, I researched and watched Blackfish, The Cove, and I followed the Cove Guardians and Rick O'Barry's Dolphin Project on their social media sites. A gentle whisper in someone's ear is often all it takes. And since this time, like yourselves, I have been fortunate enough to whisper in numerous ears through my work as a speaker and a writer, but also in social circumstances too. Even on the way down here, the taxi driver that brought me to the train asked me why I was coming. I told him the reason why, and he said, "My God, I never knew." So it's a case of educating people. Not everybody is aware like we are, and neither was I. You will get people, and you will get the odd person whose opinion is different to yours. And I'm going to say this, and under no circumstances will they budge. In fact, you are probably the unsuspecting stranger, colleague, close friend or family member they have been waiting for. Someone who they can get their teeth into and have a great argumentative debate with to ease their own frustrations in life. Don't let them. Thankfully, we do have freedom of choice, but one valuable lesson I have learned over the past few years, not to waste any precious time battling with people who clearly have one agenda, and it isn't to help make a positive difference for others, just a damn good argument. There are hundreds of wonderful people out there who, like you and I, maybe 6 weeks ago, 6 months ago, or even 6 years ago, are unaware of the real truth behind dolphin and whale captivity. Awareness keeps growing and growing and growing, and that means we are gaining strength. It also means we have power in our solidarity. So let's keep whispering in the ears of all the uneducated souls, share our knowledge, and create what we want the most. Freedom for these wonderful creatures in captivity. And as the momentum reaches its tipping point, there is every possibility the ones who were up for a fight, who wanted you to scream and shout at them, will probably begin to see the light and join hands with the rest of us. So what I want to do now, I want to share a poem with you that I've based on Lolita's experiences. And like Message from an Angel, which I shared with you all in Trafalgar Square in January, this verse is giving her a voice to the voiceless. If anyone wants to see the poem after today and or share it with others, it will be published on my website, which is www.acompassionatevoice.co.uk this afternoon at 3:30. So feel free to go and have a look and share it if you wish to. I do want some help this time though. I'm not doing it on my own. For a start, my voice is starting to go. So what I would like everybody to do is hold hands with the next person at the side of you. Let's show some solidarity between each other, please. because that's the way forward. And then in the chorus, I want you to repeat after me the lines in the chorus. And excuse me, it's very simple. The chorus is very, very simple. So after me, each line please repeat, and then do the same every time we come to the chorus. So the chorus is simply, so help me to empty the tank. Help me to set us free.
Help me to set us free.
Help me to empty the tanks.
Help me to empty the tanks.
And end captivity.
And end captivity.
If you could step inside me, if you could feel my pain, you would understand the hurt within for their financial gain. It's difficult to express my emotion because I do not have a voice. But my home is not here, it's the ocean. Yet it seems I have no choice. So help me to empty the tanks.
Help me to empty the tanks.
Help me to set us free.
Help me to set us free.
Help me to empty the tanks.
Help me to empty the tanks.
And end captivity.
And end captivity.
Over 40 years I have lived here, yet I haven't committed a crime. At 4 years old I was stolen. Will I ever have served my time? I swim around in circles in attempt to curb frustration, prisoned in a man-made whale bowl, made to live in isolation. So help me to empty the tanks.
Help me to empty the tanks.
Help me to set us free.
Help me to set us free.
Help me to empty the tanks.
Help me to empty the tanks.
And end captivity.
And end captivity.
No children or family to comfort, just strangers to entertain. I have relatives out there waiting, yet my cries seem to be in vain. So please, if you could step inside me, you would feel my hurt and pain, and you would never buy a ticket to see me to fuel their financial gain. So help me to empty the tanks.
Help me to empty the tanks.
Help me to set us free.
Help me to set us free.
Help me to empty the tanks.
Help me to empty the tanks.
And end captivity.
And end captivity.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now you know what I mean when I say she can really make us all think. Thank you very much, Sharon. It's wonderful to hear from you. I know you put a lot of thought into what you have to say, and I think it makes us all think about the emotions of these animals, because they have them, about the impact on their social groups of this cruel business, that all of us are here to make our voices heard. Now this is London, but in 60 cities, in 20 countries around the world today, there are tens of thousands of people, all of whom, like you, are coming together to say enough is enough. We will not remain silent and allow greed and allow companies to exploit and kill
Dominic Dyer
any longer. I'm very proud to work for Born Free. I'm very proud to be part of this debate, and I'm very proud to be British, because some of the biggest campaign events, some of the biggest focus on Taiji, on the marine exploitation for dolphins and whales, is here in Britain. The British people are standing up, they're being counted, and in their thousands they're coming out every few months to say enough is enough. And yes, Taiji Cove, that one small place in Japan, has become a key issue for all of us. Now, many of you will remember in 2008 when the cove was made. Many of you might have been outside the Japanese embassy a few months ago, and Rico Barry was there with me talking about his own experiences of having worked in the 1960s in the entertainment industry to actually capture dolphins, and how he's gone through a whole journey, like many of us have, to know how cruel this is, and now how he campaigns about it around the world. The Cove showed us
the cruelty and the depravity of killing dolphins in Japan. But Japan is not alone. This happens in many other parts of the world as well. Now the Japanese government and fishermen will tell you Taiji is all about culture. It's all about the right for us to eat dolphin meat. Well, let's just be clear about a few things. Dolphin meat compared to fish has around 160 times the level of heavy metals like cadmium and mercury, which are very dangerous for anyone to eat. Most of the dolphin meat from the dolphins killed at Taiji Cove doesn't get eaten. It ends up as dog food or as fertilizer. And the value of a dead dolphin at Taiji Cove is around $400 to $600. The value, though, is not in the dead animals. The value is in the live ones, the ones that are taken because of the way they look, because of their unique characteristics, so they can be taken across the world to sit in concrete prisons for our entertainment. And they're worth, when they're trained, about $250,000 a piece. It's corporate greed that is driving the destruction and slaughter at Taiji. It's nothing to do with culture. It's nothing to do with the right of people to eat dolphin meat. So let's never forget that. Let's also not forget you can't hide the insane cruelty of what's going on there. When the film was made, when it won an Oscar for the best documentary, when the world started to become aware of this horrible tragedy, the Japanese government and Japanese fishermen thought, well, we better start sanitizing this slaughter. Let's put tarpaulins out to cover where we kill these animals. We don't want to see the red of the blood in the sea anymore. We know it's there, but we don't want anyone to watch it. Well, I'll say this, I noticed some representatives from Sea Shepherd here today. Thank God you're there, because you are the people that the eyes of the world have not got you. Every day, in the rain and the cold, despite the threats, despite the intimidation, to tell the world what is going on. We're not going to go away, and we're not going to go silent. And when they kill these animals, they thought, well, we maybe shouldn't be spearing them. That's a bit barbaric and the world doesn't like it. Let's come up with another way of doing it. So what? Drive them into the cove, we'll tie them up by the tail, we'll haul them out of the water, and we'll stick a metal rod down into their spinal cord. It'll take 5 or 10 minutes to die in the most horrible, painful way possible with an animal that has a very, very complex nervous system. But who cares? Well, we care. That is disgusting. That is cruel. It wouldn't be acceptable in a slaughterhouse anywhere in the world. So why should we be killing dolphins this way? You think that's right? No! It isn't right. It's disgusting and it's horrible. And when people go to marine parks in America or in Southeast Asia, Australasia, the Middle East, and they sit there with their ice creams and their sodas and their chips and they're watching the dolphins doing tricks to entertain them, they better think about where those dolphins came from. They better think about the slaughter of all their pods, of all their social groups around them in front of their eyes. They better think about being dragged away and put on a 747 and flown across the world. They better think about being trained night and day to do things that are not natural to you at all. They better think about living in a concrete prison for 15 years and see how you would like it. Do you think that's entertainment? Do we think that's right? No! It isn't. It isn't right. It isn't good. It's cruel. It's horrible. But I'm afraid it makes an awful lot of money for many people who don't care. And it's not just marine parks anymore. There's even marine birthing centres. You can go to the Florida Keys and you can have a unique experience having your baby with a dolphin. And you can pay tens of thousands of pounds for this experience. You've got marine midwives these animals have become. When these people are having their babies and having this unique experience, just think about the fact those dolphins were dragged away from their family when they were butchered in front of their eyes. Do we think that's right? No! Something that we should all be proud of? No! No, we shouldn't. And you know what? We're not. We're standing up. We're telling people now that this might seem entertainment to you, but when you think about the cruelty involved, there's no entertainment at all. It must stop. But it means we have to educate people. It means we have to tell them about the reality. But you are having an impact. People often say to me that all these campaigns, you run up and down and make noises with your inflatable dolphins, make no difference. Well, you are making a difference. The World Association of Zoos and Aquariums over the last few months has had a dilemma. Because this Japanese trade body, which is part of this umbrella group, has been taking dolphins from Taiji Cove after the slaughter and putting them into marine parks across the country. Now, the World Association of Zoos and Aquariums says it's against what goes on at Taiji Cove. But its Japanese member is doing exactly what it says it's against. But thankfully, because of the anger and the pressure that you brought to bear, the shame you brought to bear, that international body had to say to its Japanese component, you rather stop it or we kick you out. And the Japanese had to think, do we want to be kicked out? Do we want to be shamed? Or do we want to stay in? Well, they made the right choice. They stayed in and they're stopping taking live dolphins. It's a start. We won't stop other countries sending their representatives to Taiji, but it's a massive, massive step forward. And that shows that people power can work. And when we move our attention to SeaWorld, SeaWorld parks are the most sophisticated entertainment business in the world. They turn over billions of dollars. They've got slick PR companies. They've got corporate lawyers coming out of their ears. But you have made their lives hell on earth. Quite rightly, because you have lifted the lid on the cruelty and the exploitation that is at the heart of that slick business machine. So you can all be proud of that. All of you. Over the last 18 months, SeaWorld has had a massive problem on its hands. It's lost a chief executive. It's seen about $140 million knocked off its ticket sales. Its overall finances show a drop in revenue in its parks in California, around 12% last year. In Florida, around 8%. Yeah, it's still filling seats, but it's having to cut the ticket price to get the people in. And we know why. Because all of us now are becoming increasingly aware that even if they're not taking animals from the wild, they're not treating the animals they have well. They're removing the young from their breeding stock, the calves from their mothers, far too early. They're keeping animals in confinement for extended periods of time and separating them, which is not only affecting their physical health, but their mental health too. And if you listen to some of the trainers, which some of you will now be aware of, are breaking ranks and speaking out, they will tell you the cruelty of what's gone on. They will also tell you the danger that those businesses are running by allowing their staff into the pools with these animals. That's why some of them have been killed. That's why some of them have been seriously injured. This is not only bad for animals, it's bad for people too. But we are beginning to make a difference. Charities like Born Free work hard, have worked hard for many years on rescuing dolphins and getting them back into the wild. On campaigning like we did a few weeks ago for a television company in Portugal that decided they wanted to have a reality TV show with dolphins. And not only did they want a reality TV show for dolphins, they wanted to license the rights of it across Europe and into South America as too. But by lobbying, by people like you saying that's not acceptable, the television company had to can its project. And that's what I mean when I say people power matters. By sounding our voices, by saying to people this is not right, we will stop this type of exploitation based on greed and nothing else. Across Europe now, Born Free and other charities are working with MEPs, are working with the European Commission, are working with the entertainment industry and parks industry to try and really begin to clamp down on the growth we've seen in the aquarium marine park businesses. And there is growing awareness. So if you get an opportunity, speak to your member of the European Parliament. Make sure that you tell them what you think, because we're beginning to see some real steam now in Brussels across Europe, where a growing generation of people are saying, enough is enough. We're not going to put up with this exploitation. We're not going to put up with this greed. We're not going to put up with this cruelty anymore. These animals do not have enough protection. CITES does not have any provision for the protection of dolphins, porpoises, and other small whale cetaceans. The International Whaling Commission has no provision either. There's no international framework to protect these animals. These animals have encaptivated us. We write about them. We're in love with them. They're everywhere when we think about entertainment or books or writing. Dolphins from our young age are a key part of all of that. Yet we give them no proper protection at all. Around the world, from pollution, from fishing, from illegal killing, from being taken to be put in marine park prisons or birthing centres, these animals have no proper protection at all. And we have to look over here to our MPs, to our legislators, to say to them, Britain, in the European Union and the international community, the time has now come to give these animals the protection they deserve. And only by doing that will we start to be able to put pressure on governments like Japan that will still claim that culture is the key driver for doing what they do. They need to learn, the Japanese government, that it's not socially acceptable to the rest of the world for you to slaughter dolphins at Taiji Cove. They need to learn that we will take action as consumers to not buy Japanese products or not to travel to Japan if they don't change their practices. They need to learn that the rest of the world will not remain silent while this type of butchery and slaughter goes on. It's not acceptable. We do respect Japan as a nation. We're expected as a leading industrial nation, a great cultured nation. But it shames Japan. It shames the world that the Taiji slaughter is allowed to continue. All of us should be against that, and all of us must continue to make our voices heard. We cannot afford to be captivated by captivity. We cannot afford to remain quiet. We must care, but we must share our care with everyone else that shares the view or has concerns about treatment of these animals and many others around the world. We are an educated generation that has access to information that only 20 years ago none of us would have ever dreamed of. There is no one now at a click of a button that would not be able to find out information about exploitation of marine parks, about what goes on at Taiji, about the cruelty, about the way these animals are treated. But then how do we react to it is the key. We must keep campaigning. This is one of the most successful social media campaigns in the world. The media have not been able to avoid Taiji Cove because it's you that set the agenda. It's you that make them talk about this tragedy that continues to go on. And it goes the same for what happens at SeaWorld, and it's the same for what happens in places around the world. So keep fighting. Keep making your voices heard. Never remain quiet. Remember, at the end of the day, this is not about animal rights. This is about human wrongs. This is not about animal rights. This is about human wrongs. And when we accept that, when we wake up to the reality of what they're doing to these animals, we can say in 10 or 20 years' time that we were the generation that brought this barbarity, that brought this slaughter, that brought this exploitation to an end. And we can say to our children, and they can say to their children, that once, in a moment in time, we made a difference. So keep fighting. Empty the tanks is one day of many, but we won't go quiet. Thank you very much.